After months of virtual campaigning, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden appears ready to make a change. Joining us now, Biden Deputy Campaign Manager Kate Bedingfield. Kate, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Now that we know that President Trump is going to Kenosha, Wisconsin on Tuesday, there are reports that Vice President Biden will be making a campaign trip tomorrow. Can you tell us where he's going and what the message will be?
Well, I'll answer that question, Chris, but first I just want to go back quickly to a couple of things that Laura Trump just said. First of all, she said that Vice President Biden did not quickly condemn the violence around these protests. That's absolutely not true. He came out right after George Floyd was killed back in May and said there's no place for violence. He said it forcefully again this week, so that's simply not true. But the other thing we heard her say is, don't listen to what Donald Trump has said. Well, a president's words matter. They matter. Part of the reason that we are in the state of chaos that we're in this country is because Donald Trump has failed to lead on the coronavirus. He failed to take it seriously from the outset. And he's failed to be a uniter. He's failed to lead as we've been grappling with this moment of racial injustice in this country. So I wanted to address that from the outset because neither of those things were true. But to your question, so yes, what I can say is you will absolutely hear Joe Biden out this week addressing this moment in the country. We will have details to share on the location shortly. But what I can tell you is that he's going to do what he's been doing across the course of this summer, which is calling together people, uniting the country, leading, encouraging people to take on this moment with a sense of purpose. He's been doing that. He's been leading. It's exactly the opposite of what we've been seeing from Trump, who's been trying to incite violence this entire summer.
Just wait a second. Well, I'll get to violence in a second. No, I'm thinking in real time. The president is inciting violence?
You saw Donald Trump go to New Hampshire on Friday and say, protesters my ass. He's had every opportunity to speak as a leader to this nation that is hurting, to speak to people who are struggling, who are trying to rightly seek justice in this moment, but also who are looking around and who are afraid, who see chaos, who see
but answer my question. You said incite violence.
Absolutely, he has. He has encouraged his supporters to go out, to be aggressive. You were just discussing with Laura Trump. Kellyanne Conway said it unapologetically. It is better for this president if there is more anarchy, more violence, more chaos. He has at every opportunity tried to fan the flames here, and that is the reason we are living in Donald Trump's America. He is trying to make this argument. He is trying to make an argument about Joe Biden's America, pointing to things that are happening in Donald Trump's America.
All right, we're gonna get back to the violence in a minute, but I want to talk about this question of campaign traveling, because just 1 week ago, Joe Biden said that he was going to continue his very limited in-person campaigning. Take a look.
Can you win a presidential election from home?
We will. We're going to follow the science, what the scientists tell us.
But on Thursday, the vice president talked about he's going to be out on the campaign trail. He's going to go to at least 4 swing states. Has the science changed that dramatically in 1 week?
Those two things are not mutually exclusive, Chris. From the outset, we have followed the science. We have followed the public health guidelines. We have held socially distant, responsible events with people wearing masks, with people taking the proper precautions. Obviously,
but answer my question,
very
Kate.
clear contrast.
He said a week ago that he could win the election from home. He was asked that. He said, we'll follow the science. Now he's going to go on a big campaign trip.
That's just disingenuous, Chris. He said we will win by following the science. That's what we've done from the outset. That's what we'll continue to do. That means we can hold socially distant, responsible events. You're going to see him travel. You're going to see him in battleground states. People across this country have been sharing sacrifice since the virus spiraled out of control this spring. They have been not attending family events. They have not been attending weddings. The American people have really banded together and shared sacrifice to move us forward through this crisis. And we, as a campaign, have also chosen to behave responsibly. You don't see that. You don't see that from the Trump campaign. You certainly didn't see it last week on the South Lawn of the White House.
Let me ask you about behaving responsibly. The vice president was asked this week about how he was willing to respond to the coronavirus, virus, especially if there's a spike. And here's what he had to say. Take a look.
I would be prepared to do whatever it takes to save lives, because we cannot get the country moving until we control the virus.
So if the scientists say shut it down?
I would shut it down. I would listen to the scientists.
Joe Biden's plan is not a solution to the virus, but rather it's a surrender to the virus.
Now, no leading scientist that I've seen is talking about shutting down the country again. So why would the vice president even raise that possibility?
Well, let's ask ourselves why we're in a situation where we would have to, Chris, because Donald Trump has failed to contain this virus. From the outset, Trump could have put in place a coordinated, aggressive federal effort. He could have put in place a supply commander to make sure that nurses and people on the front lines were getting...
I'm not trying to...
Wait, you asked me. Wait, Chris, you asked me a question.
No, I'm asking... The question I'm asking is a very specific one. It isn't about Trump's response. It's why is Joe Biden talking about shutting down the country again?
But it is
That's
about...
the question I asked.
But it is about Trump's response, Chris, because why are we here? Why are we in a position where
that isn't the question I'm asking. I'm asking, why would he talk about... Why would the vice president talk about shutting down the economy again?
Because Donald Trump has not successfully managed this crisis. We have over 180,000 Americans dead. We have a virus coursing unchecked throughout our country. We have people unable to live their lives normally. We have people unable to send their kids back to school. Families, parents all across the country are grappling with the fact that they can't send their kids back to school safely. This virus has turned our lives upside down. We are in the situation we are in because Donald Trump failed to contain it. He did not take it seriously from the outset. He did not put in place a plan. Okay. He did not put in place a plan to get the virus under control. And as a result, this is the chaos that we're living with.
Okay, let's talk about the violence issue. You make the point, and the vice president makes the point, that this is happening in Donald Trump's America. But the fact is the president's attacks on Biden on this issue are gaining some traction. I want to put up some numbers. In a Washington Post poll this month, 42% of white suburban voters said Biden would make them less safe from crime. 22% said he would make them more safe from crime. That's a 20-point deficit. How is the vice president going to deal with the fact that a lot of suburban voters, are now hearing, at least, what the president is saying, which is that he's going to protect them, and maybe the vice president won't?
Well, I think suburban voters are looking around at what's going on in this country, and they're looking at who's in the White House, and they're seeing Donald Trump. They don't see Joe Biden. They see Donald Trump in the White House. This is Trump's America. The chaos that suburban voters are feeling and that voters all across this country are feeling is the result of Donald Trump's failed leadership. What Joe Biden is going to do, he is going to continue to lead. He is going to continue to work to bring us together. He's going to put forward meaningful plans that address the underlying issues here, plans that tackle systemic economic inequality in our society, plans that will bring back jobs, plans that will create jobs, and plans that will get the virus under control, which is the single most important thing that we have to do in order to get our economy back on track. So, Joe Biden has consistently...
I've got to... Kate, we're running out of time. I just want to ask you one last question, and it specifically goes to the plans. The president is going after Joe Biden as a tool of the far left. Here's what the president has to say on that.
Biden is a Trojan horse for socialism. If Joe Biden doesn't have the strength to stand up to wild-eyed Marxists like Bernie Sanders and his fellow radicals, then how is he ever going to stand up for you?
In fact, the Biden and Bernie Sanders campaign agreed on a detailed set of policies, and here's what Bernie Sanders had to say about that.
I think we hammered out some agreements which will make, in my view, Joe Biden a very progressive president if he, in fact, implements what has been written.
And former President Obama said this recently: if you look at Joe Biden's goals and Bernie Sanders' goals, they're not that different from a 40,000-foot level. So are Obama and Sanders wrong about where Joe Biden would take the country?
The proof is in Joe Biden's proposals. Look at what he's proposed. Look at proposals that are going to bring manufacturing jobs back to this country, that are going to build clean energy infrastructure and create jobs, that are going to create caregiving jobs in this country. Look at his proposals. The proof is in the proposals. And I think the proof is also in his career, in the way that he has worked over the course of his career across the aisle. He's worked successfully with Republicans. He's worked successfully with independents. He's worked successfully with progressive Democrats. I mean, when President Obama and Joe Biden came into the White House, Joe Biden got 3 Republican votes for the Recovery Act, the single biggest clean energy investment in this country, the single biggest investment in bringing us back from the brink of nearly economic collapse in 2009. He did that by reaching across the aisle, by being able to get Republican votes. It's something he's been able to do his entire career. It's something he'll be able to do as president.
Kate, thank you. Thanks for joining us. And please come back.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.